Yes, guys, it's Chasing Green Arrows time. It's Monday, the final week of the season. Dean, we've been tweaking our teams for weeks. We're kind of here now for the final stretch, aren't we?
We are, mate, and there is going to be a lot of tweaking to do. I can say that. Before I'll be twerking, I'll be tweaking because I'm still not confident about where my team is heading, and I've still got the no Salah dilemma. Honestly, I'm just like, I've got screenshots all over my photos at the moment on my phone where I'm just like trying to figure out what the best configuration is if I do go with Salah and if I don't. He's still there right now. Oh, but big man, it was actually your fault before we get on to talking to you properly. But this is your fault because the other day when you started dressing up the alternatives and the fact that, well, you could have Saka and you could have Bruno and you could have this and you could have that. Yeah. I was like, I haven't even looked at this properly yet. You're right. Maybe that's better than having Salah. So I'm a very confused man.
Yeah, hello, Gianni. Hello, Dean. Hello, welcome to all the listeners and viewers. Yeah, I mean, I've sort of made my bed with it. I'm not going to pick Salah. I'm fairly certain. As we approach the deadline, I'm becoming more and more sort of certain about my team. I'm sort of sat here with 4 or 5 picks still undecided, but it's basically, those picks that don't really matter because I know who the core picks are and who the essentials are in my team. It's basically the 4.5 defender, the 4 million defender, I guess. Those kind of slots, which won't make a huge material difference to my season, I guess. But yeah, it's sort of nice to be in a place where I sort of know what the core of my team will be.
Nice. I'm similar. When we see in today's show, guys, we're going to show our 3 teams and we're going to go through the players that are locked and the players that are maybe vulnerable. And it sounds like me and Big Man have got similar dilemmas around maybe a couple of fringe players of the 11. But yeah, the big question will still remain for Dean and many other managers out there still deciding on, are they committing to a Salah and Haaland draft or is it one or the other? Guys, we've got a poll. Do get voting. Things change, so it's really good to ask this question now. We were asking this question 5 weeks ago, and we're still asking it now because Salah blanked in the Seville game, 4-1, Liverpool won. That shouldn't matter. Like, it's one game where he still looked sharp and Liverpool functioned well. But it feels like a lot of people watched that game and went, I'm selling Salah to Jota now. And there'll be chasers in the chat right now that did that. Jota's a brilliant shout in his own right, and you should consider picking him. But don't let that game turn you off Salah and onto Jota. I don't necessarily like that. Salah's still Mo Salah and the best Liverpool asset in the game by a country mile. Dean, do you agree with that?
There's content of him been released today of that, like last year he was telling everyone on the FPL channel to like why they should still pick him. Well, they've gone back to it and they've spoken to Salah again.
I love that.
They released it about 5 or 6 hours ago. And it's interesting because he's still got full of confidence of himself. He's like, it's guaranteed points. Like, you pick me. But then they say, we know you like playing fantasy. And he's like, yeah, for sure. But he doesn't know what his price is. So they tell him what his price is. And he's like, okay, that's a lot. But I feel like I should be a bit cheaper so more people could actually get me. But he does say, it was when he said, I'm guaranteed points. I was like, yeah, you are, aren't you? There aren't many people in this game that are guaranteed points. And even after last year, when you weren't necessarily like a must-have in the game, you were guaranteed points a lot of the time. So watching that didn't really help me get rid of him from my team, let's say.
Yeah, okay. Big man, he is guaranteed points, isn't he? Like, it's fair. Like, even last year, he had his worst FPL season, I think, since he moved to Liverpool. He still got over 200 points. Like, he finds ways. His routes to points have always been amazing. Does that dip a little bit under Slot? Because if we see what the learnings of Slot football so far at Liverpool for me have been a little bit more control, a little bit tighter at the back, more possession based, less rock and roll football, less end to end Jurgen Klopp style. Now with that came loads of Mo Salah chances. I think the shots per game for Liverpool is massively going to dip. I still think they'll win football matches and score lots of goals, but the output for Salah might dip because the team probably aren't going to produce as many big chances and they're going to concede fewer big chances as well. Better for Trent, maybe worse for Salah?
I think we don't have enough information to sort of base any narratives around these parts on this information on, because I was reading some comments where people saying he's playing too wide. All of a sudden Jordan is a better pick, but it's it's more of a narrative people have created in their heads just so that they can come to peace with the fact that they're not picking Salah in their teams. But I just don't think it's gonna be the right thing to do. I think Salah's still gonna be a fantastic option. I mean, just because I can't pick him does not necessarily mean that I should just start beating him down as a FPL pick. I think he'll do really well this season. Even in terms of output, I think Liverpool will score plenty of goals, especially given the fixtures that they have initially. They're projected to score a lot of goals when you look at the bookmaker odds as well. So at least until we see, let's say, at least 6-7 weeks of the new manager, how can we sort of comment that Trent is a better pick or Salah is a worse pick? I don't think it sort of works that way. We should just be basing our assumptions on whatever info we have available over their historical career data and going by that. I think both of them will be great options.
Yeah, there we go. Guys, good to see so many of our chasers in the chat. We've got Lewis and British87, big tips. I'm 1974, FPL Freddy's in the house. Good to see so many newbies as well. Like Hugh, we don't often see you around here. Export, same. Benji, the same.
Make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already.
Love that. Big push there from Bakar. Love that. It's the hair. Well, yeah, apparently your hair game is looking strong tonight, big man. But I'd say if you go across the board, us three have all got a similar style going on, which is quite cool. Yeah, we only have people on this show that have the same sort of, shaped hair.
Yeah.
Dean, in terms of big talking points in the last few days and transfers that might happen that affect our FPL teams, is there anything drastically that could change now in terms of big name arrivals or big name exits, do you think, that might be thinking of purple for Friday? Because many of us are fairly settled, like me and Big Man are quite settled. But I don't know, Ottoman arrives at Chelsea, you go, oh, hang on.
João Felix.
Yeah.
I mean, if João Felix and Osimhen are arriving at Chelsea, then you're expected to try to win the league. Like, you're suddenly elevated. You can't ignore that you should be trying to win the league if you're signing those as well as Pedro Neto. You're no longer just battling for top four. You should be in that conversation to compete with Man City. Yeah. It probably won't be unless you sign another defender, because I can see that the top end is going to be great, but the bottom end is going to be wild as well for the wrong reasons. So, yeah, let's keep an eye on that. I mean, getting Osimhen in by the end of the week is obviously going to be difficult. Chelsea would obviously love a loan for Osimhen, but Napoli want money. That's the big problem with it. But at the same time, because Napoli are trying to get Lukaku, something's got to give here. You can't just leave Lukaku rotting in the youth team building. You can't do that. Lukaku's stuck at the moment and needs to get out, and they need to free something up. And it just makes sense. It's like how Man United are going for Agate and PSG want Sancho. Well, just help each other out then and do that deal. Napoli, I know that Osimhen is better than Lukaku at this point, but find a way to make it work. So, yeah, I think that's probably the most significant thing. Michael's just brought up Reece James. He says, has the Reece James injury already happened before the season has started? Regular as clockwork. I have to say, mate, I think that's probably helped Chelsea out for the start of the season, because one of the big problems isn't necessarily Reece James as an individual, it's the role he was being asked to play and how him inverting had become a massive flaw. He was getting overrun. His flank was getting no help from the attacker on his side, and that looked like being a huge hole that would be exploited in the opening week, particularly playing Man City.
Yeah, and he was suspended for a few anyway, so it was like, oh, how do we cope without him? And then put him in the team
and then put him back
away,
in. So that's it. So they were going to have to. They were playing him in all the pre-seasons, but then we're going to have to address the issue and not have time to adapt to it. Yeah. And now, because he's not been there for the last game, and you were better against Inter Milan, like it was definitely some improvements there. And Maresca's trying lots of different things in pre-season, so it's difficult to know exactly what he's going to implement on that first day of the season. But yeah, I think that actually the Reece James thing will help Chelsea in terms of being ready on game week 1 and having a stable, a steady backline in terms of knowing who to pick at the very least. I'm not sure if steady will be the right word for that Chelsea backline all season, but we'll have to see. Even Sanchez was a bit better though, there was even some confidence that you'll be having with that. Benji says Chelsea having so many new signings again that aren't even starters with a new manager just screams disaster season. And obviously, there's a huge chance that this could be bad for Chelsea. But this level of signing is a bit different. Like Pedro Neto's different if he can stay fit. And so would be getting Joao Felix back and certainly getting Osimhen. So let's see if they can actually get those over the line. If not, then Chelsea could end up anywhere. Could be mid-table, could be fourth.
Yeah, it'd be massive an Osimhen signing. Bakar, how do we feel about... Let's move our attention to Liverpool, because I feel like we're going to see our drafts and there's going to be big Liverpool in like chat in there. But before we see our teams, and the teams are coming up, guys, in about 10 minutes' time, do not go anywhere. We want to wait till all our core viewers are on. They've all had the alert and blah, blah, blah. So 10 minutes' time, we'll reveal our 3 teams. There's 238 of you watching. Please do hit that like. And if you're new around here, guys, subscribe to the channel. Liverpool beat Sevilla 4-1. In terms of pre-season games over the weekend, Arsenal and Liverpool were very convincing, but the result shouldn't really matter. What was really important about Liverpool was we got to see Jota getting the nod as the number 9 and playing well. We got to see Trent get 74 minutes. We saw Szoboszlai thriving in the number 10. And we saw Jarrell Kwanzaa become the first choice centre-back alongside Virgil van Dijk. He played right centre-back, Van Dijk left centre-back. The game before that, Kwanzaa played right centre-back, Konate left centre-back. It looks like that right centre-back is Kwanzaa's over Konate's. Does that make him the best 4.5 defender in the game? Because he came into my team this weekend.
We also saw Darwin being poor again. So that sort of solidifies Jota's position in the team for the short term.
Yeah.
I think Kwanzaa depends a bit on the risk appetite of what kind of manager you are. I think I'm willing to go there, to be very honest. I think Kwanzaa... I have him in my draft right now. I'm willing to go there. I know you've been a huge favorite of him, looking at your posts on X. So I sort of agree with you. I think he's either going to play 90 minutes or he's going to be a 0-minute man. And I think the shirt is his to lose, having spoken to a few Liverpool fans who I trust as well, for at least the first 3-4 weeks. And at 4.5 million with those fixtures, I mean, there's not much you can expect. I mean, what can go wrong, right? Especially if you have like a playable backup at 4.5 million in defense. I think that sort of solidifies the pick in a draft. I don't necessarily like him as a pick if you have 4 million defenders as your backup, just by the way. So it depends on the structure of your team as well. And as of now, he's in.
Oh, love that. Dean, other thoughts on some of those Liverpool players? By the way, in the chat, I think Harmoni's just said, does Gianni ever sleep? I'm sending this to my wife right now because, yes, I do dream formations all night. And last night, I woke up so much through the night thinking of FPL that this morning I was downing the ibuprofen. No, I had one ibuprofen, but it was absolutely needed. So, yeah, Dean, Liverpool take? Because I'm guessing you were impressed by that not just the win, but the goals and the style of play by Liverpool.
Yeah, it's hard not to be, for sure. And obviously, Slot seems to be implementing something that could be pretty special. I think, obviously, as we said at the start of the show, like Jota is going to be coming into people's teams now. It's frustrating for people like you that have been on the Jota train since pretty much week 1 of this, because you weren't getting Salah and other people might not have identified him as the go-to guy. And he's obviously like pulled up a big performance there that's made people take notice. Obviously, Luis Diaz back in the mix, though. That was interesting. Yeah. And then you get the ones that fall away, like Gakpo didn't do anything at the weekend to kind of put himself on anybody's radar for game week 1, and neither did Darwin Núñez. So they've come out of it. I'd say the one that isn't probably being contemplated enough might be Szoboszlai. I'd say that there's reasons to be considering him if you're looking for a different Liverpool asset to get in. But it does also feel a little bit unnecessary because there's 4 Liverpool assets at the moment that are pretty much go-to, and you should be able to get, well, I say 4, probably 5 now with Kwanzaa coming to the table. So, yeah, if you can get onto the main ones, at least one, probably 2 of them is going to be needed for that first week. I mean, Kwanzaa will have to come into my thinking in some sense now. We'll go through our teams in a second, but I have got a 4.5 dilemma at the moment in defence, and I really didn't think it would be Kwanzaa filling that hole, but it could be quite easily. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I was so hot on Mykolenko. I've loved other 4.5 options. Like I do still have Lewis Hall in my team, but I think Anderson's good. I think Konza's fine. There's good 4.5 options, but if you get a starting Liverpool centre back and Liverpool are going to be a top 3 defence this season, then it feels like a gift. Like, of course, if you play badly, Kwanzaa, just like Jota and Bob and players like that feel risky, they're in the 11 as long as they're playing well. So some players can afford to have a bad game or two. Virgil van Dijk knows he can have a horror show and still be in the team next week. Kwanzaa has a horror show and he's probably out the team for Konate. So, and it's the same with Jota. It's the same with Bob. It's the same with a few sort of fringe-ish players that the risk reward is there if you've got that little bit of appetite for a risk. Because I don't know, let's move our attention, I guess, to Oscar Bob. Like, he's another one that's massively comes with that warning, but we do know he's going to start game week 1. And if you play well game week 1, you get Ipswich at home game week 2. Now, Bakar, what's your take on that right-hand side for City? Because I think, and it's been hinted by Pep, but Foden, Bernardo Silva, a lot of their minutes are going to come in central areas. That right-hand side could become Oscar Bob's. And if it does, and you're on him early, and if it doesn't, you sell him or he rots on your bench. He's 5 million. The expectation should be low.
Yeah, I'm finding him hard to read, to be very honest. It all comes down to minutes. Of course, if you're getting like a 5 million asset for that price at City who's starting, then he becomes a bit of a no-brainer. Currently, I don't have him in my draft simply because he's playing Chelsea in the first week. And let's say if he does really well, worst case scenario, I may bring him in against Ipswich. But I think there's a greater likelihood of him possibly not being in the team by game week 2 or game week 3, or by the time I need him, basically, when City have the regulars back. So for him, it's purely performance dependent, and it's sort of really hard for me to say right now whether or not he's a good pick. I just think with the information we have available, I would rather wait before bringing him in. But I can totally see why someone would have him, and I won't exactly put someone off of buying him either, because there is genuine potential and upside to target.
Yeah, he's a lock for me. I'm definitely there. Yeah, 100%. Mate, I was locked on Bob before the weekend. Pretty Bob and Jota. I was annoyed when Jota scored that goal because it meant, but then again, as a 7th attacker, it may be too risky. As an 8th attacker, no, he's an 8th. He is an 8th, to be fair. Yeah, he is an 8th. Dean, what about Arsenal and their rotation risks in Martinelli? Like 7 million. 3 million less than Saka. Is he worth a punt, or do you just look at it and go, if you're going Arsenal, you've got to get Saka, or maybe Havertz is 8 million forward?
Yeah, I just don't think there's any point going to Martinelli. I mean, he's obviously going to get
start.
But Trossard's been pretty good actually in pre-season, and he's played a lot of minutes in pre-season. And I was watching obviously the last couple of games and just trying to get a gauge of it. Martinelli's had some chances and he's been actually played pretty well, but I don't think it's good enough to get into our teams at this moment. I don't think it's convincing enough to get into our teams at the moment. Yeah. But the other thing, obviously, to look forward to in terms of Arsenal is these set pieces. I mean, these far post corners that they've been nailing. So
boy, Declan Rice as well, mate. Like, what an FPL option is now on set pieces.
I know. And obviously, he's at a really annoying price point, Declan Rice. You know, if it was like last season, I would just throw him in, but.
You did.
I did throw him in, yeah. Was he 6.5?
Yeah, he's had a bit. He was 5 last season. He's 6.5. I think if he was 5.56, we'd all be looking at him. But 6.5, it's kind of you could have a wide forward like a Leon Bailey or an Nkunku.
Yeah, I'm interested to see what happens once. I mean, Mikel Merino was supposed to be in by now, so Arsenal have been haggling over that one.
Okay.
I'm interested to see what Declan Rice's role is when that other midfielder comes in alongside him, and whether he is given the license to go, or what they're going to do with Thomas Partey, and whether Rice is going to be partnered with him a lot of the time. So there is that aspect to take into it as well with Rice. But those set pieces, I've been impressed by them a lot, and I think that that's going to be something in their armoury for the season going forward. And if Rice continues to pull those out, then you have to contemplate it. What's going on with Zinchenko as well? Is he going to start?
He's played well pre-season.
He's played quite well.
And Calafiori's minutes were at left back when he came on, so he is going to be considered a left back at first, but he's not ready to start. I think Zinchenko might get the nod, especially for the home games.
That's it. Yeah. You're thinking, a 5 million Arsenal starter at home, especially first game against Wolves. Look, Wolves are actually a decent team in pre-season. I'm not saying they can't score at the Emirates, because they can. But Zinchenko, he's even got a goal. He scored a decent goal the other day as well in pre-season.
Yeah.
There was one of my drafts the other day where I threw Zinchenko in because I was like, he might cover me for Arsenal defence for that first week or two. So I do think that one is worth considering.
Yeah, if you're willing to spend a transfer on it in a few weeks' time, but the rewards could be immediate because you're right. You get the clean sheets in 1 and 3 with the home games. You definitely get open play, goal, and assist threat. Yeah,
absolutely. And it's someone that no one's really considered up to in the last week.
Yeah. Okay, we're getting 25 past the hour, guys. There's over 350 of you in the chat. It's probably about time we turn our attention to the drafts, but answering your questions as well. We'll spend a good 10 minutes on each of our drafts. If you are tuning in for the first time, please consider subscribing to Chasing Green Arrows. We like to go on about it, but you really have to. I got tweeted earlier saying, I've been watching all your preseason content, Gianni, and I realized I haven't actually subscribed. People do forget. And there'll be other people that go, I'm watching these guys for the first time. They're all right. I'm going to hit subscribe. We got streams a couple of times a week. They're all right. So, yeah, genuinely. I mean, look, reason to watch, number one. Big Man Bakar once finished 4th in the world. We are literally in the presence of FPL royalty right now, 4th in the world. And he's one of our experts on this show. Dean for his insight on transfers and just all-round good football chat, as well as an all-right FPL manager, and well, probably that's mainly the two main reasons. But yeah, do consider hitting those buttons. All the chasers in the chat, let us know one thing that you love about Chasing Green Arrows. Just one word. How would you describe, or what do you love about Chasing Green Arrows? One word or a couple of words. Let us know for everyone that's thinking and on the fence about subscribing. And obviously, the more that you feed into the chat, the better the algorithm is. So do get typing. All right, who should we see? Whose draft should we see first?
Yeah, let's start getting onto it, shall we? I've got British asking me every 2 minutes here if I've picked.
Gianni, why don't you start this time?
Go on then. Let's drill my team. Go on then. So there's been a fair few changes when we last saw this team, and mate, I am very close to being locked. When I put this team selection video out, I put a locked emoji by some of the players, and it was literally by about 9, probably by 12 of the 15 are locked. So to talk you through it, the recent additions, Kwanzaa's in 4.5. Love that for a Liverpool defender that's going to get clean sheets. The double Spurs attack is on. Like that, Solanke obviously now is in a Spurs shirt. So Solanke and Son, I just think is a lovely differential for the first 2 weeks. I'll probably be selling Son fairly early, but for Leicester and Everton, I want him. Jota's a lock. Bob's a lock. My big dilemma in this team is, and I'm not sure, by the way, I might start on Nkunku over Bob. I'm not decided on that one. Is Anthony Gordon or Eze? Eze has been in my team all pre-season until yesterday. Eze allows me to have 2 4.5s rotating, Henderson and Matt Sells, 2 4.5s. As things stand with Gordon, I need to save 0.5, and I have Henderson, and actually that's not Henderson at 4.0, it's Matthews, the third choice keeper at Palace, who could become second choice if Dean mentioned that Sam Johnson could be sold. So I might have Palace 1 and 2 there. But I want to ask you both for your comments, and anyone in the chat. And by the way, any great comments in the chat, like Maliki, great football knowledge, brilliant ways of summarising CJ. We'll flash a few of them up on screen. But Bakar, let me come to you first. Let's do overall thoughts on my team, and then let me ask you the specific questions around Gordon and Eze. What do you make of this? Because before you thought I was too light at the back and I should invest a little bit more in defence. I haven't done that, but I have added a Liverpool centre-back, which helps the look and feel of the team.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because Isak, Haaland, Solanke is a different structure to what I've gone for. And of course, it means that because you're not picking someone like a Pedro or not picking a Muniz and you're investing the extra in Solanke, you don't have as much to spend in defense. I still think the defense is a bit light, if I'm being honest, because with Konza and Hall, both probable expected minutes concerns, I would have at least 1 4.5 backup, if not 2. So that's one issue, because if Gehi signs for Newcastle, then I won't be surprised if Eddie Howe starts playing Burn as the left back. Right? That's the issue with Lewis Hall. And Konza, as we've sort of spoken about, is fine, but I think it's probably too risky picking him when you just have 2 4 million defenders in the squad. Out of this team, I think Gordon will be the one to go, I think, to fund the defense, because I'm not really sure whether Gordon's going to start either, because he's like just played 45 minutes in preseason. We've seen Barnes and Murphy play. So it could easily be Barnes, Murphy, Isak. Just at that price, I think if you're picking Gordon and sacrificing the defense, I think that's one area I would address. Apart from that, I think it's fine. There's not much to sort of complain about. In fact, I would like to mention that you were thinking about rotating the goalkeeper. I think that is probably surplus to requirements, because your defense needs more attention.
Okay. I mean, Dean, we'll come back to you on Eze in a sec, Bakar. Dean, I've gone triple Liverpool, triple Newcastle, double Spurs attack, double City attack. My 11 is effectively 4 teams.
Yeah, true.
I'm eggs in baskets here, and I'm pretty set on it, by the way. I don't think there'll be many changes at all. Like, this could be my Game Week 1 team very comfortably.
Yeah. No,
how do you feel about that? Like, going really big on a handful of teams. I'm chasing the upside here, and it's full of risks. Kwanzaa could become a rotation risk, so could Hall, so could Jota, so could Bob. But I'm only here for the first few weeks in terms of immediate returns, and then I can make sales if I need to.
Yeah, and I've had a similar dilemma, so I can see exactly why you've gone down there. And I keep trying to add in like a Wolves or Forest or West Ham player just to have like some balance in a game that is unaffected by whatever else goes on. And just like, I don't know, Kuda suddenly bangs for West Ham and scores 2 goals or something. I'm wary of covering one of those. The interesting thing about Gordon is that, he hasn't figured much in pre-season, and Barnes has actually done very well. But Almiron is probably not going to be a Newcastle player by the start of the season.
Yeah.
He's on the verge of a transfer. Looks like he'll be going to MLS. So there is... I mean, I don't know how that would change the shape of that front line, because obviously you'll have Isak still through the middle. Would you have Barnes on the left and Gordon on the right? I'm not sure. I don't know exactly what the solution will be there. And I have also been told throughout this window that Newcastle want to sign a right-sided attacker. So it might still be that Newcastle have a new asset in this game by the time that we start the season. So I would leave Gordon there for now and just wait it out until Thursday, Friday, and wait to see what Newcastle's attack actually ends up looking like, because the chances are they do use Gordon on the opening day of the season at home to Southampton. Like, it would be quite a big decision to not play him.
I'd be shocked if he didn't start that game.
Yeah, I think I would be as well, especially if Almiron's not going to even be at the club. I mean, if they were confident of Almiron, then fair enough. So yeah, we'll have to wait to see on that one. But yeah, obviously Kwanzaa's looks a bit left field, but could be all right. I quite like it, mate. I like it. And Solanke, obviously everybody's starting to jump on that one now, but there's a lot of excited people there around about what Solanke might be capable of, and Tottenham actually having a goal scorer for next season. I mean, I recorded on Ranks this morning, and one of our questions, a few of our listeners actually were writing in saying they expect 20 goal hauls from Solanke next season. That might be a bit ambitious. I mean, he got 19 last season. It was his best ever season. And just because he's playing at a better team doesn't mean he's necessarily going to get more goals, because at Bournemouth, he was the main man. Here at Tottenham, he's sharing responsibility a bit more. But yeah, there's big expectation on him. And let's see how he leads that line. Could be a good one.
Yeah, okay. Guys, give me a rating out of 10. Just put a number in the chat. Are we thinking this is an 8 or a 7 or a 9? Let us know. Bakar, what's your take then on my big dilemma in this team? Because genuinely, I think the only swap I'm going to be making is Gordon or Eze. And if I go Eze, I think I will end up on 2 rotating keepers, or I'll bank the 0.5. You've given your thoughts on the keepers, but Eze versus Gordon, I mean, are either in your team, and which ones are you closer to? We'll flash at some of the scores. Loads of 8s and 7s.
Yeah, I mean, I like both actually.
Nice. Sorry,
I actually like Gordon a lot, but it's just the fact that, especially if he's playing, I think he could haul big against Southampton if he's playing. The opening fixtures are good from an attacking point of view as well. It's just about the expense, which I worry about. and that's why I prefer Eze. Eze has been in my draft since day one, and I've been very sort of vocal about my love and support for him. I've said it time and again. I expect him to be the Brian and Boomer of early last season. So yeah, Eze is in my team, and I definitely prefer him to Gordon. I think even more so for your team, because that 0.5 can sort of go a long way in helping you improve the rest of the squad.
Okay, yeah, see that 0.5, I don't think I'll be spending on an extra defender, but I think I could just bank it. Like, I don't really want to upgrade Hall or Kwanzaa to a 5. There's no one I love. Munoz would be great, but I think Hall and Kwanzaa are almost as good.
Yeah.
I could upgrade a 4.0 to 4.5, but again, I want a slim bench. There's a chance we wildcard early anyway. Go on, Dave.
Yeah, I have to say, of all the teams I've got into on YouTube and stuff, watching all their highlights, Palace is actually one that has passed me by a little bit.
Yeah.
Obviously, Eze, how much has he been figuring, big man, in terms of like the attacking impetus and stuff like that?
Yeah, I mean, he's just played one friendly so far. He didn't look great. I think he played around 63.
Did he just come back
minutes.
this week then from summer?
He started training on Wednesday.
Okay.
So I assume he would have had like 10 days to prepare by the time the season starts. So he should be fine at that point. I guess there's this argument that I hear that he may not be as good in the absence of Elise. But personally, I'm not that concerned for a player of that price.
His best friend. He's their best mates.
Yeah.
People forget that Elise was injured for most of his time at Palace, and Eze actually played without his best mate quite a lot. Like
Eze was injured for quite a while though as well.
20%. Yeah, true. The getting them both out was actually pretty rare.
Yeah.
Like Mateta's going to be late back. I don't know if Mateta's going to make game week 1 or not. Obviously, the Olympics is over. I don't know if he's been given a break or if he's returned to training. But Mateta in the team changes things because Edouard isn't the same.
Yeah.
Do we know about Mateta? Anyone in the chat got an update? I mean, yesterday, Edouard started and he came off with Eze and a few others. They lasted about 70 minutes. But Mateta in that game week 1 team makes a big difference to Eze for me. A big difference. I guess we'll get a press conference and probably first question be asked, or there'll be pictures of him in training. But I'd like to think that Mateta had his pre-season before the Olympics and just came back early. Remember, he wasn't playing in the Euros, so he still would have had a break and his season just continues now. I can't imagine he's going to be given any time off after the Olympics. So let's see. Let's monitor that one. He's back on training on Wednesday, according to Sokan. You guys are always proper knowledgeable. Thank you for that. So yeah, a couple of days is all that was needed. Okay, so in terms of ratings, guys, I had a lot of 6s, 7s, but a few 8.5s and 9s as well. So thank you, guys. We'll do the same for all of us. Yeah, I'm relatively happy. The changes you might see, and I'll send my team in for our deadline stream on Friday, by the way. It could be Gordon. It could be Eze instead of Gordon. And if that's the case, it could be Sells on the bench or actually starting and Henderson benched. Or it could just be 0.5 in the bank. I think that's it. I think I'm locked elsewhere, guys. I really am. I don't usually feel this comfortable 4 or 5 days out. I think I'm there now.
No more content needed. That's it.
I mean, I might have to think of something there. We just pick a wacky player for some clickbait and then change my mind. Mateta will be sharp as Lewis says. And again, remember, his season started earlier than everyone else's, so we could see that. I remember back in the days of early qualifying for European competition, like the I don't know what it was, the Europa League qualifying. And I think it was 1 year. Was it Burnley or Everton had to qualify? Whoever it was, I remember being like, they've played before game week 1. They had a couple of games. And they hit game week 1 so quick. And it was like, that's because they're 3 weeks into their season already and everyone else is straight in. So someone like Mateta could really bang early. It's a good pick.
Absolutely.
Let's move on then. We've got 2 more drafts to get through. Still 20 minutes left of the show. And guys, 550 of you joining, which is awesome for us on CGA. We don't usually get these numbers. We want to make the most of these numbers. So please show your support for the channel. Just simply hitting that like button or setting notifications if you're already subscribed. If you're not subscribed, do consider hitting that subscribe button to CGA. We're about to see Dean's team, and in 10 minutes' time, the former world number 4 in FPL, Big Man Bakar, is going to be revealing his team too.
Yeah, here they are. There you go, British. There's your answer. Smith Rowe lining up in my team. I mean, he's had a great start for Fulham. The sort of role that he's playing, the link-up play we're already seeing with the likes of Iwobi has been good. I think Man United are going to find it difficult to deal with Fulham's third-man runs. the makeup of our attack, the flaw in United's defensive area of midfield, I think is something that Fulham can expose. I do kind of expect Fulham to go to United and give them a decent game and score. So Smith Rowe is a kind of a no-brainer. And also I think it's a better pick than Muniz, because I feel like Muniz might even just be used a bit like a cone, just like occupy this space and just let Smith Rowe or whoever else go in behind you. Obviously, he's still going to be there for crosses and stuff, but Smith Rowe is looking extremely sharp so far. Look, I'll be honest, like the top end of my team, I'm comfortable with. The back end is still really playing on my mind. Whereas Robinson, he might still come into the thinking column. I've just texted someone actually about Kieran Trippier. Let me see if they've replied or not. Because Livramento is concerning me a bit, and Trippier played. I think he might have been captain, was he, at the weekend? I just texted someone. I said, "What's going on with Trippier? Is he staying now?" And he said he still wants out, and he probably will still leave. So that might have to be a late decision for me. Because if Trippier is still at Newcastle, I would, he's going to start. Yeah. If he played that pre-season game, then I'm now a little bit concerned about that. So that Livramento spot, I'm having to keep a bit of an eye on.
Would you go to another Southampton player if you didn't hear another Newcastle player? Like if you heard Trips was staying or whatever, or you don't hear, would you go to a Lewis Hall or a Dan Burn, or
no? I think I just come
to another team.
I think I would come completely away from it, to be honest. I think I would be looking at maybe even Anderson at Crystal Palace. Oh, I've got Anderson in my team obviously here already. I'm trying to look at what I've got so many screenshots here with different versions of teams. But yeah, I'll probably come away from them completely. Robinson might even be a contender, to be honest. Yeah. So I'll have to consider that. Now, I've put Martinez in goal, not because I'm necessarily going to go with that, but it was kind of a marker to, if I've put him in at 5 million goalkeeper, so that potentially when I do drop to a 4.5 million goalkeeper, it also opens up some funds for me to put into elsewhere, possibly the defence. So I don't know necessarily that I'm going to go with these two Aston Villa goalkeepers. It was more just kind of a marker. So don't read too much into that one right now. Gabriel, it's him or Gvardiol. And I have to say Gvardiol is probably going to get the nod at the moment over Gabriel for me. So that switch will probably be made. And actually on my draft, on my phone right now, it's Gvardiol in my team and not Gabriel. And then the other one is Son or Saka.
Oh, that's a big debate in the community. In fact, we'll poll that, guys. If you could only pick one, would you go Son or Saka? The majority are Saka. I think Bakar's got Saka in his draft. I've got Son in mine. It's a tough one, that.
It is a tough one. I honestly am just completely undecided over which way to go on it.
Go with the Chasers, mate. Whatever they vote, you'll go with.
Arsenal at home, all right, at that first game, and you want to get off to a good start. Son, Solanke, that slightly changes my thinking on it. Harry's saying Son all day. It's so difficult. Either way, it shouldn't be too drastically different, right? There shouldn't be a massive difference, maybe over the first week, but over the first 3-4 weeks, I'd like to believe that Son and Saka won't be worlds apart in terms of their return. Yeah. So there is that.
Mate, FPL Chai, friend of the show, Chaser. I spoke to him last night. He had Son in his team. I spoke to him this morning. He had Saka in his team. That's the biggest dilemma he's got in his team.
If he's gone for an Arsenal player, then maybe...
You know how pro Son and Spurs he is. But I think he might end up still on Son. But yeah, the fact that this morning he had Saka in there, I was like, mate, what have you done?
Yeah, absolutely. The Gibbs White one is interesting in my team. I actually am quite hot on Nottingham Forest.
Yeah. Is it because they scored 4 against Olympiacos?
I just sometimes there's just a pre-season team that kind of catch your eye. And this season for me, it's been Forest and Wolves are the two that have really captivated my interest in terms of what they're doing tactically, what the managers are aiming to do, the type of players that they're looking to buy. Forest have signed some interesting ones and still have more to come through the door. And Gibbs White role in that team is just pivotal.
Yeah.
I just got a feeling he's going to bang this season. And I thought, do you know what? I want to pick someone in this lineup that's not like a household or who's not a routine pick for everybody. And at 6%, I think Gibbs White might just give me something different on that first few game weeks when he goes up a bit against Bournemouth, Southampton and Wolves. Really nice set of fixtures for Forest to try and establish themselves this season and get away from what was tough for a lot of last season. Oscar Bob, I'll tell you what, obviously I've talked about him all pre-season. And while everybody started jumping on him after the Community Shield, I actually kind of went the other way. It actually made me, I was like, he's great, but what's his actual output going to be? What is his points return going to be? That's it's a slight concern I've got. I think he's brilliant. And at this price, I don't know if there is anybody better. But because I've got that Martinez in goal at the moment, and if he drops to a 4.5, which he probably will, it does open me up to another 5.5. So, yeah, we'll wait to see exactly what I get. Fabian, 4 out of 10. What are you talking about?
Mate, I had a 2.5 from one of my channel mods. I was like, disgraceful. You're getting a lot of 7s and 8s, to be fair. San Diego Rifle 7.5. Gucci, who gave you an 8.5 earlier, I think, was like better than your auto pick team that you had in game week 1.
Yeah, that's it.
Love that, Gucci. What's your take? Because I think Dean's gone for a lot of good players here that perhaps we're getting a bit of love early on, a few weeks back, by some of sort of more FPLX. Like Gibbs White was in every draft early on. Now he's not in as many, but I think there's some very good picks here. And I think Smith Rowe and Gibbs White are two of them.
Yeah, I think Gibbs White has sort of lost his charm, if I put it that way, simply because he's not taking those set pieces anymore. In the friendlies, we saw that some of the other Forest guys were taking the set pieces. Langa was
scoring
on
him instead. He'd be converting
taking them. Yeah, who knows? I think 6.5 is a bit steep for him. 6 million would have been a fairer price, if I'm being honest. But the fixtures are there. I mean, I don't hate the pick. I think he's an all right pick. Yeah, I mean, this is the sacrifice that you run, right? Because with Salah, Smith Rowe, I just think, or Salah, Gibbs White, I think you can get Saka, Bruno. And I sort of reiterated this time and again. I just think that is more stronger.
Yeah, I mean,
especially because I see the armband on Haaland, especially if you're captain Haaland, then I don't think it makes any logical sense to pick Salah when you're not captaining Salah in game week 1, because that means that Salah won't be your captain in most of the upcoming weeks.
I don't know. I think Salah away to Ipswich isn't that captainable because it's away at Portman Road. I do think Salah game week. Well, I mean, 2, you've got Haaland captain at Ipswich, but game week 3, 4, you could very easily captain Mo still.
Yeah.
I think Ipswich away is quite tough. I think Liverpool might only score 1 or 2 in that.
So my midfield.
Yeah, but then what is Salah doing in the team is the point, right?
Yeah, true. If you're not going to captain game week 2 either.
Yeah.
Well, this is what I was thinking too. Like, what's the difference going to be between Jota and Salah? If it's just 1 goal, say, between those two, it's not worth the extra money. And I could have a midfield that looks I'd probably keep Bob in the mix. Yeah. But I probably then would, if I took Salah out, it would look something like one of the last teams that I quickly drafted up without Salah. My midfield was Bob, Bruno, Saka, Jota, and I put Jarrod Bowen in.
I mean, even if it was Gibbs White up to Saka in the team we're looking at right now, and Salah down to Jota.
Salah down to Jota, exactly.
Because we spoke about Son or Saka, you could have both if Gibbs White went.
You could. So it's a really difficult one. But if you play the long game and you keep Salah in, it's guaranteed points that nobody else is getting on top of the Haaland ones. So.
A lot will come down to when you think your wild card as well. Like if you think you're going to wild card fairly late and hold on to it for as long as possible, and Salah's a bit of a perma play. If you think
I probably would do that. And going down this route, that's what I'd have to do.
Yeah, I think exactly. All right, thank you guys for voting.
Another thing, Dean, I'd like to mention. You have Mykolenko. Actually, Mykolenko rotates really well with Robinson. If you look at the rotation.
Oh, does he really? So I could bring Robinson in for Livramento.
Yeah, I mean, you can bring Robinson in for one of the 4.5s, especially Livramento if he's a risk. Yeah, and I mean, I'm sure you'd like to have a Fulham attacking player in your team as well. Yeah,
that would be a good one, especially Fulham's obviously fixtures beyond the first week. Even the first week, to be honest, Robinson's not a particularly bad week, a bad pick against Man United as it might look on paper. So, nice one. I appreciate it.
That's what he does.
Yeah,
Good one, big man, with that
another
rotation.
point before I forget is that I think this season, especially looking at Aston Villa's fixtures from game week 3 onwards, we may get into a situation where you might want Watkins, Ramsey, Konza, or one of their defenders, Maatson, for example. So if you're picking Martinez, I won't pair him with the Aston Villa backup. I see you have the Aston Villa backup in goal. I would get a different 4.0 because you might want triple Villa later.
Nice. Yeah, good point.
That's what he does. Good
Man.
stuff, Bakar. We've got 10 minutes to see your team, which I know a lot of our chasers have been hanging around for. Guys, if you're enjoying the show, you know what to do. All the buttons. Come on then, big man. Show us what you got.
Yeah, so this was before the friendlies yesterday. I've made a couple of changes.
Big man, I'm going to fall off my chair. I'm shocked.
I made a couple of changes to this. So Wine isn't there. It's Konza now.
I'm not surprised.
I don't mind the Wine pick, to be very honest. I think the pictures are there.
From you, mate. I'm blown away by that. Did someone who got hold of your team? Who got hold of your login?
He has the fixtures: Leicester, Everton, Brentford. 3 of the opening 5. But especially his 4.5 is not a bad pick. Anyway, I've swapped him out for Konza. What else? Yeah, Rogers is gone for Winks. And yeah, I have 0.5 in the bank. So the rest is the same.
You looking to hold that?
I don't think I will hold it, to be very honest. I think I could use it to upgrade Winks to Rogers or Bob, but I'm not really sure which one to pick. Or I could use it to upgrade Barco to a 4.5 defender. Van der Ven could easily be there, but I don't think I need him, especially when Konza's fixtures are so good. So I might even pick someone like Dunk, who has good fixtures in game week 4 and 5. So, and that would give me a really solid, robust team as well. But anyway, I have 0.5 right now. I'm really not sure where to spend it. Apart from that, I'm feeling relatively comfortable with where I'm sitting with my team. I don't really necessarily want to call any of these players locked, but I'm fairly convinced that I will pick, let's say 11, 12 of these guys. And the only sort of players who I have my doubts on are the fringe players, such as, let's say, Rogers, Barco, Van der Ven. Apart from that, I'm confident. I like Saka over Son. I'd sort of like to address that issue as well, that debate that we were having, simply because Saka's fixture in game week 3 is actually really good at home to Brighton, and he's captainable in that fixture. And then after game week 3, you can possibly swap him out for either Salah in game week 4 or for Son in game week 5. So I want to take advantage of Arsenal's opening fixtures early on and then make that decision in game week 4 when push comes to shove.
I love the Bruno pick. No, don't see many people with Bruno.
Yeah.
Excuse me, sorry. I think he's a great pick.
Yeah. I do too.
Dean, you spoke about having Bruno a few times on this show.
Yeah, he does keep coming back into my mind. He's just so important to how this team is going to function. It's difficult with United, because they've got this number 9 dilemma at the moment and nobody to really play there. I don't know that I want Bruno while they've got that ongoing. I'd rather know exactly what his role was going to be, but obviously he's got the penalty factor, and an opening day pen against Fulham is pretty high chance, I'd say, of coming through. Yeah. So I think that's interesting. One thing I was interested with watching United, I've seen all of their games in pre-season, obviously the Community Shield, and Rashford's he's on the verge of being really good again. And that's
the story of his career, though, isn't it?
But you think back to the big thing that they're trying to do is get him into the spaces that gives him the opportunities. And you see that he obviously missed both the good chances in the Community Shield, but that can't keep happening. He's just whether he's overthinking it or not, I don't know. But when he was presented those chances, this is exactly what they wanted. He wasn't getting these types of positions enough last season. And now that Højlund isn't in the team at the start of the season, he is going to get those gaps. And so I'm not saying go and pick Rashford this week, but I am definitely keeping an eye on if he starts to make the most of being in those positions again. Because if he does, I do think he'll creep back into teams, given the price point that he currently sits at, because was he 7? So it'd be the same as Eze, for example. And Eze is, should be a good pick, but again, it's feasible that somebody comes in and takes his buyout clause before the start of the season. So you never know what's going to happen on that one and how it could throw your team. What's the thinking around Nkunku, big man, and how do you consider him in the team, given that Chelsea are trying to do all sorts of different things in attack at the moment, and we don't really know what it'll be beyond the first couple of weeks? Are you confident in him as a creator or as a goal scorer?
And you do know he's not on penalties, right, big man, when Palmer's on the pitch?
Yeah, of course. I just think he's clear of the other 6.5 million options. And yeah, I mean, I see what you did there, Gianni. But yeah, I love pen takers, and he's one of the only ones who's actually not a pen taker. Another sort of point I'd like to mention regarding Bob, I see that he was in both of your teams. And one of the reasons for downgrading Rodgers from this draft and still picking Winks was that I was sort of thinking about Bob, and even though there are sort of concerns over his X minutes, I do have that 0.5 in the bank. I could potentially just go for Bob. And the good thing is maybe we will hear a team league in game week 2, because that game is on a Saturday, if I'm not mistaken, and there's a very good chance that we hear team news. And if he's my 8th attacker, I could potentially use him. So yeah, that is sort of playing. So that is 4 hours. So as an 8th attacker, I don't think there's much to lose, if I'm being honest. There's everything to gain and not much to lose.
Yeah, that's fair point there. Good one to mention, those early kickoffs. It is worth noting Liverpool, I don't think, are on the first day of the deadline till like game week 4 or something, which is annoying for those that want to jump on Jota.
Jota will start. I mean, I don't think he's as big of a risk as Bob. I mean,
no, it's more for game week 2, 3, and 4 though. Game week 1, we know Jota's starting. Yeah. Well, tell me about João Pedro over Solanke though, because the template front 3 is Haaland, Isak, Solanke, and I thought you'd be right on Solanke. I know we don't know if he'll be on pens, but no, I'm kidding. But João Pedro, is a brilliant pick. I love this front line, but there's something telling me I have to have Solanke, and I don't quite know why.
I mean, I think Solanke will do really well. I think he's a fantastic option, and I have looked at drafts with him. I've played around with quite a few of them. I just don't think they're robust enough for me, because when I look at my team, I want a team where I can just be flexible with my wildcard, just delay the decision to wildcard till as long as possible. And for that, I need a good bench. I need a good backup defender or 2, probably. So because of that, I just don't think I can fit Solanke in. And to be very honest, in order to fit Solanke in, I would have to downgrade either Trent or Bruno. And I'm finding it difficult to do that.
Yeah. You've been hot on. You said Trent from day one, so Trent's not going anywhere. Yeah,
Trent or Bruno. Yeah, exactly. I've had both since the first day, right? Another iteration of this team, Gianni. I'd like to actually hear your thoughts on this. What if in this exact same team, let's say Rodgers is Winks, right, and Van der Ven is Konza. In this team, what if I downgrade Bruno to Jota? Then I'll have 1.5 million, and then I can use that to upgrade Konza to Saliba.
I forgot there's no Arsenal here. And I know you always had an Arsenal back defender. I mean, I like that, but I also like Bruno for you. I think if I could reach Bruno, he'd be in my midfield. You've got an easier route there, but you could argue Kwanzaa might... I think Kwanzaa could come quite close to Saliba in the first few weeks, certainly first 5-6 game weeks. I wouldn't be surprised, assuming he keeps his spot.
I'm sorry to cut you off, Gianni. It does not have to be the Liverpool Kwanzaa. It could be the Aston Villa Kwanzaa who I upgrade as well. He's 4.5 too.
Yeah, I mean, I prefer that, but I know Konza rotates really well with Pedro Porro for you.
Yeah, but I don't need someone. If I have Saliba and double Liverpool, then I don't need a rotating defender for Porro.
Yeah, I don't mind it. I'm hot on Jota, but I also know you're hot on Bruno, and that is.
It's basically Saliba plus Jota versus Bruno plus the Villa Konza.
Yeah. Okay. Konza and Kwanzaa. I prefer the Jota pick because that's who I own, but I like the variety of you having Bruno, especially for CGA content. Yeah. Stick with him.
Yeah, that was one of the reasons I was looking at players like Jarrod Bowen and stuff as well, because they're players you look at West Ham, they've got Bowen, Kudus, Paqueta's having a good pre-season. They got Somerville come in. West Ham have got this all these players and stuff, and I'm like, barely talked about any of these guys. And like, we're going to get to like reviewing game week 1, and I just feel like there's going to be like 10 names that suddenly are like hot points of discussion that just haven't been in anyone's preseason plans, because we so focus on these, like we start going towards Eze or Saka or whoever it is, and forget that there are these other assets, teams that are a little more unfancied, but actually have really good preseason hype about them, and they could start to do well. So yeah, almost as an experiment, it would be fun to pick all the players that everybody else has forgotten. Even I'm not brave enough to do it, so you two definitely aren't. But it might be something to think about further down the line.
Yeah, nice. There we go. Guys, give us a number. Give us a number out of 10. Let's take an average here. Excuse me. Sorry about my throat. FPL team in the house. Can we club together for a flight for Bakar to Fest on Friday? Whose phone's ringing?
Whose phone ringing? Just checking it's not mine.
It's not mine. Bakar, are you on Flirt Divert again?
I wish I was. Yeah, mine's on silent.
Oh, it's a mystery. It's a mystery.
That's weird.
You're getting some good scores here. I would say
We're getting hacked.
I'd say you're dropping in with the highest average as well, big man. It pains me to say it, but this Bruno draft that I want you to keep has a lot of 8s, a lot of 9s. Brian gave you a 9.7. I think he's the same dude that gave me a 2.
Oh, someone gave me 11. Thank you very much for that. And just by the way, before we forget, once again, everyone, please like the video, subscribe to the channel. Lots of new listeners and viewers this time, so please make sure to support us. One last question before we leave, because we've been so invested in our Game Week 1 squads. Who is your Game Week 1 captain?
Yeah, good question. I'm on Isak.
Oh,
I'm on Isak as well.
Yeah, I'm definitely Haaland. And if I'm going to have him,
definitely Haaland.
Yeah, definitely going Haaland. Yeah,
He hates Chelsea.
I genuinely do.
Haaland scored a hat-trick against us pre-season and a brace last season in this fixture.
The thing is, like, if that Chelsea defence isn't fixed in time, then who knows, right? Who knows? So I'm going for it.
Yeah, I hear that. There we go, guys. Malachi's going Smith Rowe. Geddy's going Bruno. A lot will go Isak. Trent's maybe a bit of a punt. Saka, yeah, options. Guys, if we haven't answered your question today, we will get to it on Wednesday. We're going to do a dedicated hour Wednesday night just answering your questions. So stay tuned for that. If you're just joining, go back and watch the last hour. Big man, any other pre-recorded content this week to look out for? I know you had a video dropping today, yes, which everyone can go and watch.
Of course, I'm doing a best Solanke Isak Haaland draft tomorrow.
That'll
be live soon. Yep.
Okay, so that will be dropping tomorrow lunchtime, probably, guys. So look out for that on Chasing Green Arrows. We're doing pre-recorded content and lives. If you're bored for content now, and you go watch Bakar's video today. What was it today? It was a hard. No, what was your Haaland Salah draft?
It was the best Haaland Salah draft. Yes.
Yeah. Go check
best
that out,
Haaland
guys.
Salah draft. Yes.
It's on this channel. You've not got to go far. I would also like to just make a service announcement for anybody that fancies being very generous with the idea of subscribing to my channel as well, because I am hitting a landmark subscriber number, hopefully in the next 10, 20 minutes. And I was going to do... I was gonna do a stream to celebrate, but my wife has said, "Look, Gianni, you're gonna burn out before the deadline even hits. So don't jump on, despite you having 600 Chasing Green Arrows viewers that will all come over to your channel and click subscribe too, but come to bed and watch TV with me." So my night's going to be cut short, and the wife will let me back at the laptop tomorrow. But if you fancy just clicking on that channel, I've put it in the chat, and hitting subscribe, you'll also get some good content throughout the week. But I'll be back on CGI on Wednesday with these two to answer your questions. We'll also have a deadline stream on CGA later in the week as well. So guys, thank you so much, and we'll see you next time. For now, he's been Big Man, he's been Dean, I've been Gianni. You lot have been the awesome chasers, and some of you have been lurkers, but we love you too, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.